To the oil sector, where the group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari, says it will cost about $7 billion, excluding tax and other necessities, to build a new refinery. He made the statement in Abuja while responding to the reason behind the need for rehabilitating the Port Harcourt refinery. Mr. Kyari noted that it will take a new refinery about 4 years to be fully operational. You recall that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, earlier announced that the federal government has approved $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt refinery. He explained that the first phase will be completed in 18 months, the second phase in 24 months, and the final phase would be within 44 months. And joining me for more on this development is the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari. Good to have you join us, Mr. Mele Kyari. Many Nigerians have, or some Nigerians rather, have received this news with some level of cautious optimism. You have said that it will take $7 billion to build a new refinery. But we've done a lot of turnaround maintenance on these refineries, and people are wondering the guarantee that it will work this time.
Yes, thank you very much. I think the guarantee is not an issue anymore because when you are doing a rehabilitation of a refinery, you must have processes. And we admit that in the past, we haven't done this well. For over 21 years now, we haven't had an effective turnaround maintenance on the Port Harcourt refinery, leading to the status that we find it today. What it simply means is failure of processes, and those processes that we have recognized. And one of them is to make sure that you have the right strategy. 10 years ago, we thought that the best way to go around this is to have your original refinery builders to rehabilitate your refinery, bearing in mind that the refineries has gone through so much, some sort of catastrophe over time. And the end result is that you are not just doing a turnaround maintenance, you're actually doing a rehabilitation work. And we thought that the best way to do is to get to the original refinery builders, in this case, the JGC of Japan, so that they will help us fix it. But we very lately realized that that's a very bad strategy because refinery builders are not in the business of rehabilitating refineries. They are there to build refineries. And indeed, the original refinery builder for Port Harcourt has made it very clear that they will not put their boots on ground in Nigeria, but they can support a technically fit EPC contractor. In this case, the Technimon that eventually ended up as the EPC contractor for this project. And when we realized this, then we thought that the best thing to do is to bring in the best of the class of EPC contractors, what is called engineering, procurement, and contracting contractors. And we passed through a very rigorous tender process that brought the best in class into the process, and we ended up with the Technimont of Italy declared as the eventual winner of the bid process. And why it won't fail is very simple. First, we recognized our limitations and we decided that we do need help. And what part of the help that we secured is to get a world-class engineering company, as you may be aware, it's called KBR, in partnership with our own engineering company. Also, we admit also that it is a very, very high-class, world-class engineering company that will help us all through the process from tender all to delivery and completion. And secondly, we subjected this process to review and support of Wood Mackenzie. Wood Mackenzie is well-known experts in managing processes, managing systems, including management of refinery delivery processes. So brought them on board. And thirdly, we included other stakeholders which ordinarily were not required by law to do, which is to bring in parties who are not part of the recognitions of the Public Procurement Act, including the trade unions, Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, Bengasan and Nupeng, the EITI or NIT, and very many other institutions of government which are ordinarily not part of our processes, so that we can deliver transparency to the entire processes. And that is working for us. But more importantly, we decided to finance this from third-party sources for two reasons. One is to ensure that there's a line of sight of third parties.
I'm sorry, I do have to jump in here because of time. You talked about transparency in the industry, and so far, about $26.5 billion have now been expended in a period of time to maintain these refineries. Although you have said, and many people believe that would have been enough to at least build about 3 refineries in the country. why, and people still wonder why we are not building a new one. But I just want to ask you about the privatization and the selling plan. We want to sell at some point, we want to privatize at some point. What has happened to those plans?
Yes, first, when you say $26 billion, you're talking about cumulative spending on a plan. It's not an annual spending, it's not a one event spending. And therefore, just it's true of any other business, when you accumulate the cost over a period of time, they will be higher than the cost of fixing, making a new one to work. Obviously, this may be a misplaced data. But more importantly is, why would you just go ahead with rehabilitation and why not build a new refinery? First, refinery of this scale today, you need at least $7 billion or at most even $12 billion to build this. We don't have those resources today. Nobody will provide that level of financing today. And you can also not deliver within the time frame that we are seeing, even if you have the cash. So it's a combination of national strategic interest, and nobody gets rid of an asset like this because it has value. It is not the 105-year-old refinery that is being referred to in the media. It's something else. It's a refinery that was completed in 1989. It's still in world-class situation, and it's possible to put it back. So there are really no incentive for you to get rid of this refinery and start a new process.
Right. It does look like there is no going back on this policy. We will see how it plays out in the coming days. Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.